My dear readers, Roger Stone has emerged not just as a principal malefactor, but as a maestro of malevolence. The latest allegations levied against him, that he suggested a Democratic congressman, be it Eric Swalwell or Jerry Nadler, has to die before the 2020 election, are not just profoundly disturbing, they are an affront to the very essence of democratic ethos and human decency. Beneath the veneer of Stone's political theatrics lies a festering cesspool of malevolence, a contempt for the democratic process so profound it defies belief. This is no mere hyperbole. The suggestion that a congressman should be murdered for political gain is an act of such vile immorality it transcends the very worst of partisan politics. It's a descent into a kind of moral darkness that should make every citizen's blood run cold. Here we see the true face of Roger Stone, not just a trickster but a harbinger of anarchy, a man who would see the pillars of democracy crumble for his own twisted ends. This is not the cunning of a political operative. It is the depravity of a man who has lost all semblance of moral compass, a man who would sacrifice the very soul of the nation on the altar of his own ambition. In Stone's Machiavellian worldview, the ends always justify the means, no matter how despicable, no matter how destructive to the fabric of society. This is not a matter of mere political mischief or the underhanded tactics that have unfortunately become part and parcel of modern political warfare. This is, if proven true, an incitement to murder, a call to arms against the pillars of governance and a blatant disregard for the sanctity of human life. It's a hideous, grotesque defamation of political engagement, plunging into the darkest abyss of criminality and moral bankruptcy. The defense offered by Stone, attributing these allegations to AI manipulation, is as laughable as it is insidious. It reeks of desperation, a pitiful attempt to deflect from the gravity of the charge by invoking the spectre of technological witchcraft. In an era where misinformation and digital deceit are legitimate concerns, Stone's recourse to such an excuse is not just cowardly, it is an insult to the intelligence of any rational observer. It's the last refuge of a scoundrel, clutching at digital straws to escape the noose of accountability. Let's be clear, this is not about politics. This is about the fundamental principles that underpin our society. When a man like Stone, already tarnished by a history of underhanded tactics and nefarious associations, allegedly crosses the line into advocating for murder, it is an attack on the very foundations of our democratic system. It's an act of such shocking depravity that it should not only be condemned in the strongest possible terms, but should also be met with the full force of the law. Roger Stone has long been a figure of controversy, a self-styled, dirty trickster who seems to revel in the shadowy corners of political machinations. But this latest episode is not a trick, it's not a maneuver. It's a heinous proposition that strikes at the heart of civil society. If these allegations hold true, then Stone is not just a political operative gone rogue. He is a danger to the public, a man whose actions spit in the face of the rule of law and civil discourse. In the end, this is not just about Stone, nor is it solely about Swalwell or Nadler. It is about what kind of society we wish to live in. Do we tolerate, even indirectly, the notion that political disagreements can be resolved through violence and murder? Do we turn a blind eye to the vilest of threats, dismissing them as the rantings of a political has-been? Or do we stand firm in our conviction that certain lines must never be crossed, that there are moral and legal boundaries that, when breached, demand swift and unyielding justice? The case of Roger Stone is a litmus test for our collective moral compass. It is a moment that calls for unambiguous condemnation, and, should these allegations be proven, for punitive action that reflects the severity of the crime. Anything less would be a tacit endorsement of political barbarism and a betrayal of the principles upon which civilized society rests.